DA to be able to hold a DA accountable. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
The gentlewoman yields back. The gentleman from the state of Ohio, Mr. Carey, is now recognized.
I want to thank the chairman and also the ranking member for having this hearing today. I do want to point out a couple of things. I happen to be one of those members that actually lives in a neighborhood very similar to Capitol Hill in Columbus, Ohio, and you know, so we have seen the uptick, of course, and I've talked to our police officers there, and the recruiting efforts that they are facing is equal to what I think is consistent with what I'm seeing across the country. I also do want to point out that you know, when you reach a certain age, a lot of your staff tend to be about the same age as your children, and we had 3 of our young staffers that were just walking back on Capitol Hill. One of them is here with us today. That were attacked by a homeless guy with a knife. And you know, as a father, you hear that and you view these young staffers as professionals, but you're mindful. So anyway, along those lines, I do have a few questions. Chief, I'd like to kind of start with you. As we know, the Capitol Police expanded jurisdiction reaches beyond the Capitol campus itself into some of those surrounding neighborhoods. And you mentioned this in your written testimony. You also highlighted it, and you described some of the multiple incidences that you've responded to in the crimes in the nearby area. What are the greatest challenges that you face with the jurisdiction of these neighborhoods?
The biggest challenge for us is that once you get beyond that extended jurisdiction zone, and you know, and oftentimes we're patrolling beyond there because we've got a building where 30 members of Congress live, so we're patrolling that 3, 4, 5 times a night. The fact that if something happens, oftentimes we'd have to call for MPD to take some sort of action because we don't have the authority that we need.
Well, with that, what would you say the coordination with MPD? What's that typically like?
It's great, but a very quick example. We had at the congressional softball game last year, it was beyond our extended jurisdiction zone. We had a group of demonstrators walk on into center field and stop the game. We called for MPD because we did not have the authority to arrest them because it was outside the extended jurisdiction zone. What I would like is to have a memorandum of agreement. We have several memorandums of agreement with MPD to be able to, at a congressional event, that we would in fact have the authority to take police action at something like that. So we wouldn't have to wait for them to make the arrests.
And I appreciate that. It was something else, and like I mentioned, you know, I live in a neighborhood very similar to Capitol Hill. It's in the city of Columbus, and of course many members do across the country. And so, Chief, can you describe how the Capitol Police work with our local law enforcement agencies nationwide to ensure member security in our own districts?
I appreciate that question. We have dozens, and that number is growing exponentially. Dozens of memorandums of agreement that have been signed with state and local police departments from around the country so that we can request their assistance and they will provide that assistance for an event in a member's home district so that they will provide additional security, and we'll reimburse them for any cost of that assistance. So we work very well with state and local agencies from around the country, and as you may know, we have nationwide jurisdiction to investigate threats against members of Congress. But the fact is, we don't have the staffing to investigate, you know, to go all over the country to do something. So we work with state and locals, and we have great relationships all over the country.
Lastly, and I only have a minute left, how many arrests does the Capitol Police make in a typical week from DUIs or other criminal suspects coming from D.C. into the nearby campuses?
You know, traffic offenses, including DUIs, we probably make a dozen or so every week. But I will tell you that the number of arrests over the last couple of years has gone up each year.
Yeah. And as somebody who was a staffer here in the 1990s, I can tell you it's definitely changed in many ways for the better, but obviously we're seeing this uptick. Really appreciate your testimony, and I appreciate the work that you do with our local security teams. I know we have a person on our staff that coordinates with you guys, and you guys have done a fantastic job, and I appreciate that. With that, Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
The gentleman yields back.